So, Keith, one for you from Maggie. When will Keith be getting his Iwobi tattoo?
So it's not been cancelled. It is still in the pipeline, but like obviously the cost of living crisis and all that, and just things have cropped up and like delayed it, but it's still on the cards. I am a man of my word. We will get it done at some point. But yeah, it's just a case of getting it fitted in. I've got a busy life. I'm a very busy man with several flourishing business enterprises,
Well, this is
Has
it.
his form got nothing to do with this?
No. And
I don't believe you. I think you've seen this fella is possibly shit, and I don't want to get it done now.
no, Les is about to tell you why that is incorrect.
Yeah, I'm not one for the Iwobi slander. People are
No, I don't like. I'm just saying that is I think a general feeling a lot of angry fans have had this season is that he hasn't hit the expectations that we had, say, for the last 3 months of the last campaign to keep us up.
Yeah, I think he's still been pretty solid though, hasn't he? He's still a very reliable player. He's still creating a lot of chances. I just don't think I think last season took us all by surprise because he just after that Newcastle game, he kind of came from nowhere. The confidence was flowing through him, and he just started playing really, really well. I don't think he's doing anything particularly wrong this year. Got to think as well, he's been stuck out on the wing, and I don't reckon he's a winger, but he's adapted to that position. I don't really get the stick he's getting. Maybe I don't know. I'm just watching something different, but I don't know. I still think he's been good for us. And when those stories came up about moving to Turkey, and people were like, "Yeah, I'll take him there myself," just don't get it. I think he's been decent. He's a solid team player, and you get a decent performance out of him every week. Not a pull every week, but
what you said there, I think you're spot on, to be fair, because I like him there. I say that in jest, what I said to Keith there, but I think the fact that he's grown to what he's become, I think he deserves a lot more credit for that, because when you start so poorly at a club, which he did when he first came in, and people had that price tag, pretty much on his FOD for the majority of time that he's been with us, that we've knocked out 30 to 40 million quid on somebody when we were all looking at getting Zaha back then, under Silva. I didn't have a sympathy with him, because every time I saw him at Arsenal back in the day, I thought, this lad's got bags of talent, he just don't know how to use it. And it felt like the same when he came to us, but it was even worse because he didn't have people around him as good as what was at Arsenal who could actually help him and get him into a game. Whereas he took it by the neck himself last season and stepped up, and that is where he deserves immense credit for how he became. And that's why this season I think it's really, really harsh if you criticise him, because again that goes back to what I've said there, where players around him just simply don't use him enough to get his talent involved in what we need to do in games. Like you just said there, you don't want to play him at a particular area of the park where I think he's so versatile, he can go into several areas in our attacking formations. Be interesting what happens to him if and when Calvert-Lewin gets back in, if that changes to what we need him to do. But like I said, I say that just to keep them more than happy to see how this tattoo goes as well, to be fair. And happy to kiss it as well.
I want to see if we should see if we can get it done in the Denby, shouldn't we? We'll do like a thingy
with a Q&A as well at the same time.
Maybe do it as like a little charity thing.
Yeah.
See if we can raise a bit of money for like Everton in the community, or
that'd be fantastic, mate. Actually,
really, really think hard about where you're going to get it, because Dave just said he would like to kiss it. So
it'll be back of the calf, so I can hide it away. Apart from
got excited then I was going to get my leather out.
I'm not getting it done on my face. There's absolutely no tattoo on my face. I think somebody said in one of our chats the other day, 13 of Everton's 25 points this season have come as a result of Alex Iwobi's contributions, like direct contributions, assists. So he's been an important player for us this year, and I think the fact that the team's been so bad as a whole drags the level down, and like no one really comes out of this season with much in the way of credit for performances. But There's still a player in there, isn't there? He's not gone back to terrible.
No,
He's
not at all.
he's underperformed on several occasions. And like you said, he's not as good out on the wing. I don't think he creates as much. He doesn't do the tracking back work that he does and the winning the ball back that he does in the centre of midfield. And I'd be interested. I'd like to see if they like stick him back in that midfield when Calvert-Lewin comes back and play Gray and McNeil as the wide men again, and stick him back in that midfield in the middle, and have him like doing the legwork, doing the running, doing the tackling, because that's where he really flourished back end of last season.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's definitely the position for him. And he did some like we were talking about the goal at Newcastle before. He has had some nice link up play with Calvert-Lewin as well, sort of working just off him. So that's something he can do as well. But yeah, it's nice to think that when Calvert-Lewin eventually comes back, there will be some options about what we can do there. So we don't need to just keep the core there, play Gray up front. We can stick him out on the wing. We can pull away the inside. There are some options there. It's just a case of when Calvert-Lewin comes back, which is a mystery to us all. Dan has asked, you go for a day out exploring the oblong of dreams. Come on, Dave, get involved. On a triple tandem, which two Everton players would you want with you, front and rear, and why? And for this question, which I will use for the image for the podcast, he's put me on a tandem with Leighton Baines and Oumar Niasse, which I probably couldn't argue with, to be honest, for a trip around the oblong.
So we're allowed to include any player at any time?
Yeah.
So the first one that came to my mind, and look, it's very, very, very rare that I go over your ways. It's very rare that I go under that tunnel.
It's your loss and ours that day.
Well, of course, the last time I did, when I went to meet in that place that I was unable to find, that was right next to the tunnel. That just didn't seem logic the way that place is, even though it was really nice when we went inside. So the first lad that I'd take with me, purely because of his accent, because it really did me head in. But and look, again, this is no offense to people on your side of the world. It's Jack Rodwell, who I thought sounded like the worst wool you've ever heard. But
wasn't he from sounds of somewhere?
Exactly. No, I think he's from Southport.
He's a Southport kid, isn't he, Barkdale?
Yeah, that's it. So like a natural accent from there, I think, does get quite close to not yourself, Les, of course. But
I was going to say, because I don't think I sound too dissimilar to you.
Oh no, mate! If you said you were from Bootle or I don't know anywhere, Belle Vale or something like that, then I'd absolutely accept it because you've got quite a legit Scouse accent. In fact, I'm not sure how you've actually got that, given where you're from.
It's just a Birkenhead accent, this, mate, honestly.
No, it's not.
Telling you, it is.
No, it's not at all. It's like our friend Si Magnet as well. He's got that slight wool tang.
Wool Tang.
Wool Tang clan.
Oh, there's the title. Get in.
The wool tang. So yeah, the first one's Jack Rodwell. The second one, again, didn't think I'd be saying this, but Tom Davis. I think that's a good night out. It's a couple of lads who are still relatively popular. I know. At the time, I was happy when Jack Rodwell got off because we got 15 million for him when he went to City and barely got a game. Then ended up, I don't know where he finished. Is he in Australia now or something? I think that's where he is now, but obviously he was at Sunderland for a while, didn't play a game there. His injury record was astonishingly bad, wasn't it? So, but he was a lovely fella. I remember I had to interview him a few times. And really, really nice guy. But I think a lot of fans as well said there was never any real substance in what he was able to do. Like you saw, he had a talent, a big lad who could play as a defensive midfield player or get forward a little bit. Scored a wonder goal against Man United when we beat them 3-1. I think that was a good 12, 13 years ago, that at Goodison. I was really excited what he can do, and then it just sort of panned out really quickly.
It is a thing, isn't it, with players like that, though, if they've not nailed down a position, so by the time they're in their early 20s, they kind of just become one of these players who doesn't have a position and just get shifted round. Play right back if you need it, stick them in midfield if you want. Do a job at centre half, and it's really difficult then to, unless you become like Phil Neville. It's like there's no career in it, is there? It's tough.
I think
Well, I
his
remember.
issue with that
Sorry, go on.
was he was one of the best youth centre halves in the country when he was coming
Moyes
to the
ruined that.
academy.
Yeah.
And Moyes stuck him in midfield, and I think he always sort of railed against that. He said, "No, I'm a centre half. I'm just being played here." And at the time, I don't think there was no real chance of him breaking into the centre halves. I mean, we had the times he was here. Who did we have? Jagielka, Lescott,
Distan.
and whatnot.
Yeah.
So he's not going to break in there. But I mean, when he moved on, surely there was one of the teams must have had a look at him and gone, "Do you know what? We'll try him at the back." He came across as a nice lad. I mean, so the Sunderland Till I Die documentary didn't paint him in the best light with his refusal to take a pay cut with the rest of them and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, why should he? They've given him the massive contract. Why should he's not, there's nothing legally obligating him to.
But we'd all take that at what we do for the living. I always think about these things, where you think, I mean, I've said it before when we've signed certain players and we've had them here for like 5 years, they've been abysmal, but still we're paying them a lot of money. It's actually not their fault, is it? You know what I mean? No. So it is hard to throw that against them.
The thing is, though, if it was any of us, we're taking a pay cut, it means we can afford the bills and we can't. They're taking a pay cut, it's like they're either dead rich or just rich.
It's either a Lamborghini or it's a Porsche, you know what I mean? It's that that's sort of the big difference they have in what they're earning, do you know what I mean?
I think for the bike ride, let's drag this back on track. I think the first one I'm going to choose is, I've thought about this logically, and I'm going to take Segundo Castillo, because then the other two don't need to do any peddling, because the size of them thighs, mate. Jesus.
Just stick them. Everyone else has got the legs up.
Have you ever seen a footballer, like a professional footballer, come out like he's wearing his little sister's shorts? Because
this is the thing.
Bursting out so big.
Small boys' shorts, them.
David Unsworth's shorts wouldn't have fitted him. His thighs are that big.
Absolute monster thighs. So we can do the peddling. I'd love to take Leighton Baines to Parkgate for an ice cream. I think he'd enjoy that. Little cycle along the front. Parkgate obviously has world-class dairy products for your pleasurable consumption. So yeah, I'm gonna take me and Baines here gonna go and have an ice cream, and Segundo Castillo is gonna pedal us round with his thighs of fury.
That is an excellent shout. I think I'm gonna take Duncan Ferguson and Sean Dyche to the Abbey Mill.
Tell me what this place is. Tell me what this place is.
Manager chat. What?
Tell me what this place is that you're talking to me about from your side.
Yeah, Abbey Mill.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a cracking boozer.
It's probably the best boozer on the Wirral, to be fair.
Hang on, lads. When you say like really good booze and stuff like that, your really good booze is going to be completely different to me on this side of the water.
It's basically like a little country pub with a fire, but it's about 5 minutes from Greasby.
But mate, we have to go over to like Cheshire to find places like that.
You don't really, you see, it's on your doorstep. It's all here.
Mate, if they sort out a bridge like they did in Runcorn for us to get to where you are, I just don't know why it's a mental issue that I have going in those fucking tunnels.
It's a scam at Gateway Bridge.
Yeah, the fact they didn't bring...
2 days later, they say, you haven't paid your toll, we're fining you.
You always forget as well, though, don't you? Yeah. You always go, right, I'm going to do it as soon as I get home. And then you don't
forget and get charged.
A month later, the £2 crossing charge costs you 30 quid.
Yeah,
that bridge, they must have paid for that 100 times over already.
Yeah.
Just off the back of people forgetting to pay the £2.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be like that with the tunnel. I remember when the tunnels were first made, because my uncle worked on them, and he said the initial idea from the council was it was only going to be a year of people having to pay to go across.
Oh, yeah, just to pay the costs.
Just to pay the cost, yeah. But now, obviously, they're just ripping it up. What is it now? 180 now to go through? £2. I mean, that seems to have raised every couple of years in the last 10 years or something like that. But the other thing that's pissed me off with the Runcorn new bridge, obviously, is you've nailed it, what you've said there, Keith. But the fact that it was, again, something else that was told to us all. The old bridge, the old Runcorn bridge, people were saying, oh, it just needs it just needs fixing. There's little bits of it need repairing, and then when it comes back, that is actually going to be free. When we didn't all sit there and think, hang on, there's no way they're going to put a free one there, because first of all, most of us aren't going to go on the £2 one or the £4 one if you go on there and back. So everybody, there's going to be a ridiculous amount of traffic on the one that's free. So they thought, yeah, fuck this off now, lads. We're not doing this. We're losing out on money, and there's just going to be a ridiculous amount of crashes and traffic on that bridge.
Yeah, scam.
Is that bridge as well, by the way, where the train went under it?
Runcorn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The old one, I mean. Yeah, there's a train
one,
line there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you go on that on the London train.
Well, so, but how'd you get back? Does that still go down that way, does it?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
So they've left the train line, but they haven't bothered fixing the cars.
I thought, is it shut? Yeah.
Yeah, it's never. If you look at it,
the train still goes across fine.
Well, when you look at it from the new one to the other side, it looks like it's just got bed sheets on it or something like that, and people are taking the piss because it's just that's a good 3 years now, isn't it, since the new one was built?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. And they still haven't sorted out the other one when they haven't used it at all. So don't know what's going on there, mate.
Apart from forgetting to pay your toll, Boss has asked, if your most annoying / disgusting habit became capital offence, what would you be on death row for? Let's go for how are you getting killed as well?
Ooh.
Quite
a grim question.
Any really disgusting habits?
I bite my nails. I'm going to say that. I'm going to get my head on a spike for biting my nails.
I used to, like many moons ago. Now I've sort of grown into like a fine, flourishing metrosexual, and I have a manicure kit. And I've even got one of the, them little buffer things to smooth them off after you've clipped them.
I'm going to check your nails later. I need to see.
I've got really good nails. I always keep them quite short and quite tidy as well. I'm very meticulous about them. So yeah, I don't disgusting habits. Yeah, I mean biting nails, especially if you're doing it in public, it's a bit grim, isn't it? Watching somebody like
yeah, I just do it when I'm nervous or I'm thinking.
When I'm nervous, I tend to like my leg will twitch like a fucking metronome. It's just a boom, 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 going. And that must be annoying for whoever sits next to me in the ground when it's like 7 minutes into the 4 minutes allocated for injury time and Everton are holding on to a 1-0 lead. By the way, the Brentford one last week. So was it 6 minutes they gave at the end or 5 minutes?
Yeah,
I want to think
there wasn't a single stoppage in the second half.
No,
where's he got that? This is a narrative. This is they're trying to get us again. It's the Allen sending off.
Well, that Newcastle goal that got disallowed last night, the offside.
Well, yeah, I mean that one. I think what that's come from, that Newcastle goal, is stemmed from they've changed the rules that often and put in these clarifying statements that the referees don't actually know what the law is.
No.
And it's basically a judgment call on them, and they're like, well, it might be offside. I'm going to give it offside because it's safer to give it offside, and they might score again. Obviously, they did score again afterwards. But yeah, it was a ridiculous one because the laws of the game say as soon as a defender makes a deliberate attempt to play the ball, phase is reset and you're onside again.
Like Salah's goal against Wolves.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, obviously that one counted, didn't it? Because
well, there you go. Yeah. The one that I don't get is the handball one now. If it hits an attacker's arm anywhere accidentally and he scores, is that still the rule that the goal's disallowed? Because they did it for a season, then they took it out. Is it back in?
Seems that way, doesn't it? It really does seem that way because
but I don't know.
Gray's goal there, he couldn't help it. That's hit him on his body.
No.
I mean, I can see it. And it seems to be the thing that happens with VAR and the way things are with refs these days is there's no sort of grey area where they'll consider things and think, you know what, I'm actually intelligent enough and being qualified as a referee or a referee that does VAR that I can actually make this decision based on what I actually think. That's the reason why I'm doing what I do for a living. I'm a professional. Well, now it's almost like it's just a cop-out, isn't it, that they thought, if it hits him there, then regardless of how it's happened, the context of why it's happened, that is a foul. That's what's pissed me off a lot with most of what we've seen. When there's sort of controversial things that happen, they're not controversial. They either fail or they don't. It is black and white for me as a fan watching it. So say for instance that grey one, there's no way he can get out the way, so therefore it's a goal. It's not because where it hit. If it hits him on his actual the palm of his hand and went in, if he can't help to get his hand out the way for that, it's a goal. It can't be prevented, much the same way as when certain tackles are made and players go into another player. If it can't be helped, that is where refs look at it and think, well, maybe that's the thing why we don't give a penalty. I sort of get that is why a little bit more of a grey area, particularly when handballs by a defender happen. But when it happens to somebody who can't help it, you have to give a goal. And look, if a non-blue was listening to this, which fortunately that's not going to happen when we're doing this show every week. But if people would say, that's because he's a blue, that's because of what happened to Gray, and that's why Everton didn't go 2-0 up, or if we'd cost the game and drew 1-1, we'd be sitting here crying that Gray's goal wasn't given. It's absolutely not. I just think that it's such a frustrating thing that pisses you off so much, and it seems to happen a lot more regular than it used to as well.
Yeah, it's like drawing lines for offside as well for me.
Yeah.
I mean, as funny as that disallowed goal was in that derby, the lockdown derby at Goodison, as hilarious as that disallowed goal was, I just think if they're drawing lines, it shouldn't be offside, because the players the players haven't got the benefit of that technology. So if a striker looks along the line, he's level, his foot might not be level. You can't legislate for that. Shite.
Well, it's like the Cody's goal should have been a goal.
Yeah, exactly. It's all shite. Sack it off. Okay, so leading on to this one from Stuart Guy. What other piece of the mostly embarrassing Everton timeline, it is a bit, isn't it, should be removed from around the ground, followed by full launch ceremony into the Leeds-Liverpool? So we'll throw VAR into the Leeds-Liverpool Canal. What are we taking from the timeline, or anything from Goodison and lashing in the canal? I'll go first with rollover hot dogs. Shite, get them in.
Yeah, they are.
Walker's there, isn't he? Is Walker on the timeline?
He is, isn't he?
Yeah, he'd be the one, mate. He goes
get him in the. Just take the whole thing.
Yeah, I'd set him on fire. I'd say that like I'd set him as a person. Say that like I'd set it on fire as like I'd actually see the fella, and have Ian Walker trying to defend him. But no, I'd just get that poster thing burnt and so it's never seen again.
Well, he is wearing that really nice half kit on it, I think, on that picture.
That was a piece of training wear, wasn't it?
It was. That mid-90s Umbro training gear was the best.
His hair did my head in as well. His hair was a joke.
If I could grow hair like that, I definitely would.
Oh, mate, absolutely. I think that's why I'm so jealous of him. Other things that have got to go. That's a really interesting thing to talk about, really, given that they are actually going to go in the next 18 months or so, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think, right, moving on to Bramley Moore, let's ask a bit of an existential question here. Should we really sort of sever our ties with that past now and just try and become a decent football club?
The past, so that's very broad what you've said in terms of past. Do you mean how shit we've been for 20 odd years?
Yeah, do you know, the Everton first, all that kind of thing. It's nice trivia. But
the Everton, that stuff.
About really, the first team to use goal nets. But that sounded, it's a historical thing, but let's not bang on about it.
Let's get rid of the top flight games played counter before every kickoff.
Yeah.
The 100 years top flight thing that was on the Dixie, on the Kazan kit, wasn't it? The little 125 years existence or something like that, wasn't it?
Rara in the bin.
Yeah.
What else can we get? I'll tell you what. While we're doing Everton bugbears, here's mine, right? And it's very niche. Anytime we get a corner or an attacking free kick around the box, and the crowd start giving it the Everton, right? They do it too early, and it's finished at least 30 seconds before the set piece is taken, and it has absolutely no benefit. Wait until he's got the ball in the corner, ready to take the kick, and then start giving it the Everton chant.
This is true. It's as soon as the foul's made or the ball goes out, isn't it? Everyone starts.
Yeah.
Just cool your jets a bit.
Yeah, just hang on a second. Just have a chat with your mate for a minute. Let them decide who's gonna hit the first man with the corner, and then Give it some beans.
Do you know what?
I'm going to go one.
Last week.
I'm going to go one.
Last week.
I was just going to say I'd go one further than that, and I'd have The World Has Ever Seen completely scrapped.
Everybody sings that, though, don't they? Everyone, like Brentford.
That's exactly why, because every fucking team has that.
Yeah, and it's not true in anyone's case.
No, exactly. Well, it's true in someone's case, but it's certainly not ours.
Nonsensical.
While
we're on the subject of shit football songs, that E-I-E-I-E-I-O one that Newcastle Give It Biff does, they need relegating or like points deduction.
Horrible.
Because that is horrific. It's the absolute pits.
That it's everywhere we go as well. All the London clubs sing that, don't they?
Yeah. It's worse than that time around about the start of Martinez, where Southampton fans had about 10 songs in total, but they were all to the tune of Sloop John B.
Sloop John B needs to get in a bit, mate. Absolute disgrace, mate.
Worst thing.
Shite used to have that a hell of a lot all the fucking time.
It's a better song on its own, but it's shit.
But it's not now because of football. Yeah.
Terrible football.
The other one, this is hugely controversial. I might get some shit over this, but please take away. And I sung this last week, so I know I'm a complete hypocrite here, but the part on the Derby song, every fucking one of them, please don't do that anymore. Please, I would beg for people not to do it because it was never originally part of the song.
I love that. I'm going to disagree because that's my favorite. Well, that's my second favorite bit. My favorite bit is the following line where every fucking one of them turns to even little baby ones.
Fucking hell, I didn't hear this, mate. That's gone hardcore. That's taking a grim line.
Especially the baby ones.
You want to stand in front of like 5-year-old kids with full Liverpool kits on and sing that, don't you?
Well, yeah, right in the face. Absolutely. Yeah. I want little cop-outs crying. A crowd of grown men shout at them.
Oh, mate, this is down there like my leather kit in my car.
So you were saying about not editing things out.
I know, mate. I know. It's getting really, really extreme, this, isn't it?
I do enjoy when the Blue Room podcasts go on to the dark timeline.
Yeah.
I know Jonesy hates it, but I really enjoy it.
How do you mean? What do you mean? So say it again.
So, like, we'll just be talking about nice, normal stuff, and then we'll get a little bit horrible with it. We'll be a bit vile.
And he gets anxious, doesn't he?
He does. He's like he's sort of texting his solicitor in the background.
Oh, do you know? It's so funny.
Keith's just said this. Can I put that out on the pod, or are we going to get in trouble?
It's so funny to say that, mate, because obviously we've been going over 10 years now, and when we started making this serious, it's quite ironic because we're on the show that's actually not serious whatsoever. But when we started saying, oh, should we do this? Should we do that? And there'd be times when he'd send me the pod and he'd go, just have a listen to this and see if you've got to take it off, Dave, and all this. And I sort of get his point at the, beyond the pale. But you're absolutely right, Keith. I think there's a little bit of paranoia with stuff like you just mentioned. Then, like for instance,
I think he's spot on, and some of the things we say are possibly actionable. But I've got fun, isn't it? We're a little bit dark humor is a fundamental part of being an Evertonian. I don't think you can support the club without being a little bit sick.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of questions here from Maggie that we can piss off another group with. So we've done the Irish.
Excellent.
We've done cop-outs. Now it's the people of Nottingham. So Maggie has asked, is it Notts Forest or not Forest? Notts
Forest.
Notts Forest.
Would they not kick off at that, though, because of Notts County?
They hate it.
Yeah.
They hate Notts.
They hate it. Yeah, because Notts is the county, isn't it?
So what do they want?
Just Nottingham.
It's a technically true abbreviation because the not part of it is not going on strike, and the S at the end is scabs.
which leads me nicely onto Maggie's next question. On the topic of the nation's finest scabs, who's more Tory, Forest or Leicester? Or is there a surprise entrant? Ooh, it's tricky, that, isn't it?
Well, I was going to go immediately for Leicester because I don't think I don't think no few of them to BBC. In fact, I'd be considered a Tory because of who I work for right now, considering what's been going on. I am absolutely not, by the way. But
Like Tim Davie.
but I'm fully with them, fully against Leicester because they are the worst, in my opinion.
I'd say Leicester are more Tory purely because I've never seen Notts Forest fans
Hey!
with those plastic clapper things that they put on the seat.
Oh yeah,
I think that's a very Tory trait.
constituency would be giving them away, wouldn't he?
Yeah, Leicester fans do come out with the full gamut of Feed the Scouser songs and all that.
Yeah.
Singing Feed the Scousers in like August.
Yeah.
Strange creatures that they are.
Yeah, it's a Christmas song, lads. Leave it.
Could be going down though, lads, eh?
Southampton are in the mix. They're a very
so they're
Tory
not.
club.
I was thinking them, but they're not a surprise, are they?
Very Tory bunch. Who else do we not like? Villa are have a very Tory fan base.
Yeah,
which is strange because they are like a traditional working class club like Everton.
Yeah.
Roots very in the community, but they do come away with some absolutely horrendous poverty shouts. And it's just, I'll never understand anyone who goes to match and starts like trying to score points over starving children. Like, genuinely, where's your head at if that's it? Yeah, you live in an impoverished area. Yeah, so do you, mate. The whole country's impoverished.
It's very weird, isn't it?
Just what are you doing? It's not a good trope to try and like use to score points off.
What are you saying about the London clubs though?
Aye.
Where'd you stand with the London ones though? Because a lot of them are very different than others. I just said then it was Spurs. Obviously Chelsea, I think, probably the main one of the lot.
Well, you'd say Arsenal as well, but Islington's like Jeremy Corbyn's patch.
Yeah, exactly. Really, it's such a strange place like that, isn't it?
I've never really minded Spurs fans, apart from that horrible slowed down "Oh When the Spurs" song they sing.
Yeah, down Southampton needs to leg it with that.
That grates a bit. But I've never really had a massive problem with Spurs
fans. They have
got
terrible songs.
They are quite similar to us in that they have a next door neighbour that's like hideous to live next to, and they are quite long suffering. Obviously, not as suffering as we are, bless them. But yeah, I've never really had a problem with Spurs. Chelsea fans, just
West Ham
used to quite like West Ham fans.
I never mind West Ham, but they've gone.
Yeah, it's just because of fucking sugar and gold and all them.
Yeah,
bad thing to say about gold, like because he passed away.
They're a lot like Newcastle fans, and they've tried to manufacture this rivalry that's never been there before.
Yeah, I know quite a few West Ham fans in work, and they're all sound. And I think as a fan base, as a general fan base, they've got that weird working class Tory vibe about them now.
Yeah.
That is a genre that now I think that is a specific class.
Do you know what it is? It's because the council have put them in a big shiny new house.
It is, isn't it?
Now they think they're better than what they are, and that's a crying shame, isn't it? Because West Ham was a belter away at the Bowling Ground.
I never went to there or Highbury.
I mean, do you know? I love watching The Apprentice for my sins, but Karen Brady knocks me sick, and for that reason. I think
are in the Leeds Liverpool Canal.
Right, we'll finish off on this one from Maggie. We've still got quite a few to do actually, but we'll come back to them. We'll finish off with this one from Maggie. Debate early kickoff, standard 3 p.m. Goodison under the lights.
3 p.m.
Saturday 3 p.m. Isn't it?
It is because you get time for a couple of pints before. You're back in the boozer by tea time. And you've got your whole night ahead of you.
Yeah.
And obviously, with our fine sponsoring establishment, they allow us to have certain takeaways delivered and whatnot. And they get the disco on. Saturday 3 p.m. is the kickoff. I do love Goodison under the lights. It
is amazing.
But it just throws you right off. And you get back to the boozer about 10, half 10, and then you've only got an hour's worth of drinking time after the game to try and put it to bed.
You're in work next
It's also
day.
typically like a Monday night as well, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Monday nights are horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
Next game, innit?
Yeah.
Right, lads, we'll finish on that because we're almost out of time. Sadly, we've got no more time for any more questions on Mailbag. Sadly, we've got no more Saturday 3 a.m. kickoffs. Sadly, our next game is a Monday night against Spurs. But,
Hang on, we've got none all the rest of the season, no 3 p.m s.
No.
What?
Brentford was the last one.
We've got 11 more games left, none of them at 3 o'clock.
That's
not at home anyway.
To finish on.
Not at home, but I'll check it. I could be wrong.
You've destroyed this show.
I'm sorry.
You're going in the canal.
Mate, I destroyed this show 3 years ago when I started it. Right, lads, see you that. Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Dave. Thanks to everyone who sent questions in. We'll catch you next time on Mailbag.